see. Oh, there's how's it feeling? Okay, the April 15, 2026 Prosper Portland Board of Commissioners meeting is now convened. Hannah, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Alvarez,
Here.
Commissioner Kress, Commissioner Hagans,
Here.
Commissioner Stoudemeyer Wesley,
It looks like she's on there. I can see her. I can see her name.
Commissioner Stoudemeyer Wesley,
Okay. All right, well. we
Chair
will,
Cruz.
We'll take notice that she's here. Okay. All right, I have a brief message to read. As required by state law, Prosper Portland has provided an opportunity for the public to access and attend this meeting in person. There's also a YouTube live stream video of the meeting, and the public has had the opportunity to arrange in advance to provide virtual testimony. The public may provide written testimony to the commission by emailing prospercommissioners@prosperportland.us. Again, prospercommissioners@prosperportland.us. Thank you. All right. Commissioner reports. Does anybody have anything they'd like to report this month? Nope. Okay. Online, anybody out there? Okay, then. We'll go straight to the Executive Director report with Executive Director Cornell Wesley.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Cruz, and thank you once again to the board. I want to open my comments by acknowledging this has been a very stressful time at Prosper Portland. Last week, the agency made the difficult decision to lay off 9 staff, which equates to about 10% of the total workforce by the end of 2025-26 fiscal year. These layoffs are due to a combination of reduced ongoing general fund, delayed implementation and returns from the Strategic Investment Fund, and slower than expected growth in the new tax increment districts. Layoffs are never easy, but given the size of the agency and the nature of our cross-team work, this has been an especially difficult time. I want to thank the entire team for their professionalism and their efforts, large and small, to support one another. I also want to acknowledge the board and thank each of you for your leadership and for your collaboration. So once again, thank you. Now moving to my schedule and some current items. I want to mention that Wednesday, April 8th, Andrew Fitzpatrick, our Director of Economic Development, along with Prosper Portland staffers, Mayor Wilson, and Councilor Zimmerman for the ribbon-cutting ceremony at the Upstart Collective in Big Pink. The Upstart Collective provides a supportive environment for business founders to thrive and collaborate, and I'm pleased to welcome them to Big Pink, just a few blocks from our office. For more information on what the collective is and does, please visit upstartcollective.org. Friday, April 10th, I participated in the Division Midway Alliance Entrepreneurs in Action event. This was a great event and a wonderful opportunity to connect with East Portland leaders, including Council President Dunphy, Councilor Smith, Metro Councilor Simpson and Brim Edwards, and Interim Metro Council President Wong. I want to thank Leisha and the entire DMA community for hosting us and presenting such an amazing and engaging event. Yesterday was the first meeting of the City Life Committee. This City Council Committee will oversee the work of the agency, and I look forward to collaborating with them in the year ahead. Also, many thanks to Amy Nagy, who presented yesterday regarding the Cully TIF Action Plan process. April 15th, last night I also participated in a panel discussion co-presented by the Black American Chamber and Brown Hope. The panel discussion focused on access to capital, visibility, technical assistance and mentorship, gentrification and displacement, and community wellness. Other panelists included Shannon Singleton, Commissioner for Metro, Metro Councilor Ashton Simpson. This panel was moderated by Kobe Lewis of 1803 Fine. And so I want to thank the Chamber, Brown Hope, and everyone who attended this educational and invigorating event that I was honored to participate in. The Portland Panorama Film Festival is now underway. Portland's premier film festival features international and Pacific Northwest cinema at venues across the city now through Sunday, April 19th. And so I want to thank Elise Taylor with our film and events team for all her outstanding work to support this 11-day festival. So for more information, please visit portlandpanorama.org. Again, portlandpanorama.org. Friday, I will attend Mayor Wilson's State of the City speech. I'm eager to hear the mayor's comments and, of course, look forward to working alongside the mayor and his team to address the economic development opportunities and challenges that this city faces. Commissioners, I want to close by quickly highlighting just a few of our loan and grant programs. Our post-production grant, which is designed to encourage the completion of feature-length produced films, closes tomorrow. We also have a new loan product I want to mention, which is the middle-income multifamily housing construction loan. Prosper Portland has allocated $9.5 million to provide gap financing to experienced developers for the construction of new multifamily rental housing projects of 20 units or more, dedicated to serving middle-income households in Portland. This program opened last week and will accept applications through Monday, May 4th for first consideration. Also of note, the Vibrant Districts Grant, which provides grants to community-based nonprofit business district organizations. Grants can be used to implement projects or events that increase district vibrancy, enhance visibility and promotion of the district, and support staffing or operational improvements. I'm pleased to say that the team has recently announced grant awards to 17 business districts, totaling almost $150,000 in critically needed funding. The next round of Vibrant District grants will open in the fall. The Uniquely Portland grant provides funding for events that showcase our vibrant communities and drive consumer spending at local stores along neighborhood business districts. This is the first year of this grant, and in just 4 months, we provided 24 grants to support events in all 4 districts. By the end of the fiscal year in June, we estimate more than 70 grants will be dispersed, totaling over $800,000 and leveraging more than $19 million in local spending. More information on all these offerings is available on our website. This is such important community work, and I want to thank the creative teams responsible for developing and implementing these programs. This concludes the Executive Director's report. Turning it back over to you, Chair.
Great, thank you so much. It's a great report. Okay, next up, we have the meeting minutes from our last meeting, March 11, 2026. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, thanks. All right, all those in favor of approving the minutes from March 11, 2026?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, Hannah, do we have anybody signed up for public comment on items not on the agenda?
No, we do not.
Okay, great, thank you. As I mentioned earlier, the public can provide public comment to the commission by emailing prospercommissioners@prosperportland.us and prospercommissioners@prosperportland.us. All right, our next item is number 6, the consent agenda. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve these items, or conversely, does anybody have any comments they'd like to make?
I'll move the consent agenda.
Okay, we actually have 2.
Report 2608
Excuse me, yes. I
and
apologize.
report 2609.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and I think we have to vote separately on these, don't we? No, we don't. We can vote together. Okay, great. All right then. All those in favor of Resolution 7641 and 7642?
Aye.
Thank you. Yes, unanimously. Thanks very much. Okay, our next item is number 8. This is an information item, presentation with Business Oregon. Sophorn Chang will be joining us. She's the Director of Business Oregon, and Andrew Fitzpatrick, Director of Economic Development, will both present. So, welcome. Oh, and I apologize. Jeff Hampton will also join Business Oregon. Thank you. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Chair Cruz, Commissioners, and Executive Director Wesley. My name is Andrew Fitzpatrick, and I proudly serve as the Director of Economic Development here at Prosper Portland. We are privileged this afternoon to be joined today by the Director of Business Oregon, Sophorn Chang, who I will hand over to after I've run through just a few brief slides to tee up this conversation about how Prosper Portland collaborates with our state's economic development agency, Business Oregon. We also appreciate having Jeff Hampton here, who serves as our Regional Development Officer for the Portland Metro Region for Business Oregon. So the biggest point of collaboration that Prosper Portland has with Business Oregon is through our work of the Business Advancement Team, which, as you know, is focused on growing and attracting traded sector companies in Portland. Large or small, a company can be qualified or considered as traded sector if it sells goods or services outside of our region, bringing external dollars into our local economy and creating living wage jobs. As you also know, traded sector jobs pay significantly more than their non-traded sector counterparts, and they typically have much larger multipliers in terms of the indirect or induced jobs that they support. The competitiveness of our traded sectors in Portland is vital to our overall economic growth. As a reminder, our priority clusters, which are based on a quantitative analysis of our current economic strengths, are athletic and outdoor, green cities, food and beverage manufacturing, metals and machinery, and software and media. We appreciate it when Business Oregon directs their statewide strategies and program investments in alignment with our industry cluster priorities. As we all recognize, Portland's economic performance has major implications for the entire state. On this next slide, you can see some of the BAT team's economic impacts that it has here in Portland. By engaging in efforts to retain, grow, and recruit traded sector employers in Portland, our work positively impacts quality job creation and the city's tax base, funding critical public services for residents. We value the longstanding partnership that we have with Business Oregon to recruit, retain, and expand traded sector firms here in Portland. This includes coordinated business outreach and resource offerings, as well as strategic alignment and tactical lead sharing. As you may know, Business Oregon also leads the state's trade strategy, partners with Prosper to link firms to export assistance, and facilitates inbound foreign direct investments into Portland. We are constantly looking to leverage our local relationships and our resources together with Business Oregon in an aligned and value-adding way that avoids duplicating efforts. As we update our Advanced Portland strategy to capitalize on our current opportunities, we will be continuing to look for ways of enhancing this partnership with Business Oregon. With that, I'll now hand this presentation over to Director Chang. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Andrew. Well, good afternoon, Chair Cruz, Commissioners, Executive Director Wesley, and then also the team from Prosper Portland as well. My name is Sophorn Chang. I have the privilege and honor serving as the Director of Business Oregon. As Andrew mentioned, joining me here in person is Jeff Hampton, who is our Regional Development Officer for Metro Region. We do have a team member who's also online as well, calling from Pendleton, Oregon, Melissa Drugi, who is our Business Services Director. So Melissa, you can wave online, right there? Wonderful. Chair Cruz and Commissioner, thank you so much for the invitation to come and have a conversation today. Of course, it would take us more than half an hour to show the whole presentation about Business Oregon and share with you the amazing work that our team's been working very closely with Prosper Portland. But for the time that we have with you today, as much as we really appreciate, we wanted to make sure that we provide you the up-to-date information on the state level, as well as highlight some of the collaboration and the partnership that our team at Business Oregon work very closely with Prosper Portland. We hope that to have some some time to have the discussions as well. Our team will be happy to follow up with you for any type of questions or conversation afterward as well. So a couple of things that we wanted to highlight, I'm going to start it first by saying something, by highlights that one of the most important topic and the priority that's really happening right now. And as you are aware, Governor Kotek released her prosperity roadmap a few months ago. And this is happening, and as we're talking today, the Governor Prosperity Council is conducting the meeting in Pendleton, Oregon as well. For the Oregon Prosperity Roadmap that Governor Kotek released back in December 2025, she really laid out the 3 strategic goals, really address what's important for our economy and for economic growth here in Oregon, and lay out the plans and some of those actions as well. While we as the State Economic Development Agency have multiple areas that we partnering closely with the governor's office and the other state agency, I would just like to highlight a couple of things. One is we right now in the middle of developing the statewide economic development strategy. This is a strategy that this is not Business Oregon economic development strategy. It is the statewide economic development strategy, which means that it needs to be a collaboration, it needs to be a partnership, making sure that the voices and also the priorities across the region, across the state of Oregon reflects in those strategies. At the same time, the governor also appointed the Prosperity Council, a member of 16 Prosperity Council members working to provide a recommendation. Prosperity Council work independently. As you are aware, that is co-chaired by Renee James and also Executive Director of Port of Portland, Curtis Robin Hall, leading with numbers of the industry leaders across the state. They've been conducting listening sessions. They gathering all the feedback. Those feedback is actually available online right now. Governor's office already posts those online. We as a Business Oregon also gathering feedback as well. We been engaging number of work, the focus group, number of conversation with the economic development partners, economic development organizations, as well as business owners across the state. And we have seen similarity. And so our goal is to have the statewide economic development strategy complete about the same time that the recommendation from the Prosperity Council will be provided to the governor by the end of June 2026. More to come. I know that I speak this on behalf of our team. We'll continue to work closely with your team at Prosper Portland. We're happy to also come back to the commission as well to provide an update what we have heard from what we have developed and also lead to the implementation together. Should we move to the next? So as we are gathering, this is really tiny and small. We can just go for one more. We want to be fancy, but then it's just really, really small. When we did just back in the fall 2025, as I mentioned, we didn't really start it from scratch. There's numbers of resources and reports and a lot of studies that's been done. We did put a link on those, including our innovation, the 10-year innovation plan. But most importantly, for the city of Portland, there's recent work being done around the Central City Task Force, for example. Through all those conversations, we developed the framework for our economic development strategy that really highlight 8 action areas. And you can see it's on here. We're not going to go through each one of them. I'm sure that those are not a surprise to you. I mean, there's a lot of conversation around the business climate. What could we do? What can we support our businesses? At the same time, how are we continue to invest into our business and the community, particularly the traded sector for the job growth and economic growth? And what are we looking at for the return on the public investment that we put in to those dollars amount? Based on the numbers of conversation, and we did a couple months ago, and there's a delay. I want to also recognize that and thank you, Executive Director Wesley, who participated in our advisory committee as well. We did have a kickoff to dive a little deeper into those 8 action areas. Right now, we kind of group them together to summarize it to more like just 5 instead of 8. And I feel that those are going to be really aligned with the work that now the Prosperity Council looking at as well. So we are looking at the business climate and that's really highlight regulation and taxes. We're looking at the workforce development, innovation, entrepreneurship, and capital access, as well as business retention, expansion, and recruitment. That is an area we work very closely with Andrew's team. And infrastructure, investing in our community infrastructure is so important. Prosperity Council also set the framework as well for the work that they do. They have 3 areas of framework as they looking into what is the immediate action plan, what is the midterm, and what's the long term. They looking at the 3 components. One is around workforce development. Kind of the second, but the first one, of course, business climate, right? Again, regulation, taxes, and then the workforce development, and the last one is tools for growth. I think there's some alignment for the tools to grow around that whole infrastructures and a business recruitment, retention, and expansions as well. We don't have the detail to share with you at this one, but I just wanted to highlight the work that is happening on the statewide and also what's happening at the Governor Prosperity Council and what the council has been working on that. And before I turn it over to Jeff, who's going to highlight some of the partnerships that we have with Prosper Portland over the years, and particularly currently what we're working together. And this is just a snapshot. I know the data is not quite up to date, but I thought that it was also helpful to at least pull from January 1st, 2023 up to March 2025. You could see that within the partnership with the City of Portland, particularly Prosper Portland, we have invested 186 projects. That roughly over $74 million. And just like Prosper Portland, our agency also focused on the grants and loan. So majority of the community development and infrastructures more likely is a loan program. Strategic Reserve Fund, this is an area that supporting the traded sectors and support the businesses directly through the forgivable loan projects, including Small Business Sustainability Fund that fit into that Strategic Reserve Fund as well, business retention expansion program that fit in that as well. So we have done 13 projects together. That's almost $4 million investment. I did have the team pull the number, which is didn't make it to the slide, for the last 3 quarters, from July 2025 to March 2026. We have seen that we partnered with the City of Portland for 83 projects. It's about $14.5 million. In those investments. So, and we also highlight some of the investments that we work closely in the Greater Portland, that mainly Multnomah County, Clackamas, and Washington counties as well, to share with you kind of what is a snapshot within the region. We have all of those informations available online, but happy to also provide additional details or information on those particular projects as well. Businesses, this including arts and culture projects that we work to invest with those businesses as well within the City of Portland. I wanted to be mindful of time and want to make sure that we leave some time for questions and discussions as well. I would like to invite my colleague Jeff Hampton, our Regional Development Officers, to provide just a little specific example and some of the projects that we work closely together. And one kind of important announcements as well that I'd like to share with the Commission, with all of these numbers of the projects and the partnership that we have with the City of Portland particularly, we have seen the increased need of the capacity. We are adding additional regional development officers. So Jeff will have a partner, and also Prosper Portland will have another partner. We currently only have 11. We have 11 regions, and then for 11 regional development officer, each region have one. So this is additional capacity to the metro region. With that, we'll turn it over to Jeff to highlight some of the example that we work closely with Prosper Portland.
Great. Thank you, Director Chang, and Chair and Commissioners, and Director Wesley. Thanks so much for the opportunity. Appreciate the invite and the few minutes. Supporn told me to keep it to about 25 or 40 minutes, so I'll try to keep it to just within that. I want to follow on some of the comments that Andrew made and that Supporn made, just by telling you what a pleasure it is to get to work with the team. The business advancement team in particular, but the team here at Prosper Portland. We've got a strong and I think effective relationship, one that continues to be based on collaboration and alignment, and that continues to be sort of the drumbeat that we all march to in that way. Our work, much like the work of the business advancement team, is very focused on traded sector investment and traded sector business growth and development. Not to the detriment of other business types, but like the business advancement team, with the limited resources we have to focus our efforts, and we're focused on those traded sector businesses. It looks very much like referrals and partnership on the day-to-day in terms of how my work as a regional representative for Clackamas, Multnomah, and Washington counties, how my work interfaces with the team here at Prosper Portland. It really looks like partnership at its best in that way. It can be on the business retention side of things. I've got listed here a couple of bullets about our primary focus areas that we collaborate on. Business retention, business expansion, recruitment, of course. But it is always a first priority for me to ask businesses, have you met with Prosper? Have you connected with your local economic development agency? Do you know the team at Prosper Portland and the business advancement team, Pam and Sue, Catherine, et cetera? That's always the first question we ask, because we know that in order to be effective and competitive as a state, to help businesses here, it's going to take more hands to lift those businesses up. And we want to do what we can in partnership that way. In terms of business expansion, I think, Andrew, I believe you mentioned the recruitment aspect of the work that Business Oregon does, and we're happy to do that with recruitment officers that work to help support Oregon's priority key sectors across the globe, with offices that are actively working to try to introduce and invite foreign direct investment as well as domestic investment. That's not to say that we're always able to win that business. In fact, frequently, Oregon struggles in that capacity. It's very competitive. The tools that we have as a state are limited. And again, it's thanks in great part to the partnership that we have with your agency that we're able to do as much as we can here in Portland and in the metro region. But we do have recruitment officers that, in addition to myself as a development officer, work closely with your team here at Prosper. Last year, we spent a little bit of time in meetings with Andrew and Prosper Portland and GPI to talk about the ecosystem here in the greater Portland metro region, but most directly as it relates to Portland, to ensure that our work is aligned, to ensure that the work we're doing is complementary, and that we can define roles and expectations on sort of who's on first for various types of work that we engage in. I will say that one of the outcomes of that, and it wasn't new news, it was just a reiteration, that we're in this together. There's no wrong door. If you contact Business Oregon, as I said earlier, I'm going to refer folks, if they're in Portland, to Prosper Portland. That's true, I believe, of GPI as well. And in the work that we're doing, whether it's in foreign markets or outside of the state in recruitment or with businesses that we're working with here, that constant message, call Prosper, have you contacted Prosper? You're going to hear that echoed that way. And together, I think, along with GPI, Prosper, and the state, we established an MOU, sort of a three-party agreement to clarify what some of those roles and responsibilities are. And I'll tell you, we Business Oregon, we don't always get it right. I stumble sometimes. I'll miss a phone call or I'll miss the opportunity to connect Yvonne in with a food and beverage manufacturer I might be reaching out to. But I'm quick to circle back around and own that. And I would be remiss if I didn't say the Prosper team does what they can to ensure they're always staying in close connection that way. So it's very much a two-way street in that regard. I've included FDI and export assistance here because, like business finance programs that we offer, we have more work that we do other than direct incentives. And some of that looks like opportunities to help Portland businesses that are looking to reach new markets. So we do have export assistance available for traded sector businesses. We also, I've included technical assistance and committees. Really what I want to illustrate there is our readiness and willingness to help support the work of Prosper Portland, the City of Portland, as it relates to various ad hoc and standing committees, whether it's Advanced Portland 2.0, a next generation or initiative that you're looking for stakeholders to engage in. We're always happy to be thought partners with you and provide our perspective from the state standpoint on those initiatives. And we very much rely on and benefit from Prosper Portland's engagement with committees and groups that will form that way as well. It certainly works both ways, and it's not lost on us the impact that the city has on the state of Oregon, the importance of economic development in this moment, but frankly, for the long term. And working with Prosper Portland is, it sounds like a little Pollyanna-ish here, but I'll just tell you, it's a pleasure for me to be able to do so. So I just wanted to add those bits of editorial comment as well. Thank you for the opportunity.
Before we end, if I may add, Chair Cruz and Commissioners, just wanted to echo what Jeff mentioned about the collaborations and the great work that we have done with Prosper Portland. And the team, especially Andrew and Pam's teams, I have witnessed and participate with a lot of the numbers of the meetings, both recruitment and also business retention and expansion. I really appreciate the collaboration and the partnership and recognize that this work that in the economic development, it requires that all of us together that work in partnership. So not just need the energy, but then also the commitment and dedication to make a difference and listen to the community is so important. The work that we do with Prosper Portland is not duplicative, but is a complementary to one another, to support one another. I have seen that our teams come to the table together with the rest of other partners, for example, GPI, or sometimes we also have to bring other state agencies like ODOT or housing or transportation or DEQ to the conversation or PGE. We're being really strategic together. We want to make sure that at the end of the day, we do whatever we can to leverage what we have within our agencies together between Prospers and Business Oregon to support the businesses, to make sure that the business call Oregon home, to make sure that the businesses continue to invest in Oregon or expand or come to Oregon. So we have seen and done this together. So I'm proud of the partnership, and with the Advanced Portland 2.0, I'm excited. I think that there's a lot of alignment opportunity that between Prosper Portland and Business Oregon and as a state. So with that, that's all we have for the information that we like to share. We want to save some time for comment, questions, or anything that we can be helpful and provide to you, what can be best support and partnering, and if there's any opportunity as a gap, we're looking forward to that as well. Thank you again for the opportunity for being here.
Great, thank you so much for coming today, and thanks for your great comments and insight into all of your efforts. And we're super happy to hear about the successful collaboration between Prosper and Business Oregon. Means a lot to us, and obviously we can do much more together. Would any of the commissioners have any questions or comments like to make?
I have a question. I was hoping actually that you could talk a little bit more, Saporn, about, I think, the joint work with the interagency work. Because I think, we hear a lot about the challenges between, and even the challenges that you put up around the sort of regulation challenges. And Portland has its own layer, the state has its own layer. If you're trying to move forward with a project, it's hard to navigate that. And if you could talk a little bit about the interagency, that would help. And then just a second question I have is the question about collaboration on the treasurer's office, with the treasurer's office and where we're investing. So we invest in growth in the PERS fund. The PERS fund does decently well in its growth. And they watch not only the markets, but they watch where businesses are advancing. And my question is does Business Oregon get that information to then look into those industries that might fit into our traded sectors, or because they're on all of their financial calls already? So those are my two.
Yeah, Commissioners Hagan, thank you so much for those questions. I see there's two parts of the question. So first one is the joint work. This is already the partnership within the state. I'm just going to speak for the state. It already exists through the Governor Regional Solutions work. So it's part of the statute, and Business Oregon is one of the members of the Governor Regional Solutions. That's including DEQ, Department of Transportation, DRCD, and as well as Housing, and the Governor's Office lead that effort. Recently, Governor Kotek and also Regional Solutions actually reformed the advisory group for each of the region. The Regional Solutions team do come together. I forgot the Department of State Land, which is part of the conversation as well. And they do invite other state agencies to the table when it comes to a certain projects. So Regional Solutions' role is to come together and be a solutions to the businesses, right? And oftentimes, you are correct. There's a number of the problems or the challenges that come up, and we hope that the Regional Solution can help to come together, solve the problems, and elevate it to the Governor's office or address those issues. The Governor has seen that the need that to do it faster, to be more effective and more efficient. So part of the Governor Prosperity Roadmap, excuse me, so in the House Bill 4084, is it 84? Yeah, that the Governor's bills in this year, 2026, there is a program called Fast Track Program. She also highlighted part of the Prosperity Roadmap as well, to be able to bring together a different set of the agency, expand it beyond the Regional Solutions team, to work particularly on those fast track to help support businesses and identify the projects and the businesses. Yes, the system. So to kind of wrap up to answer that question for you, Commissioner, that the system is already in place for that joint effort. And at the same time, we also recognize that there's more work that need to do in order to be more coordinated and effective. I do appreciate my agency director's peer who's also willing to answer the call and be able to come to the table when we need to address the issue. The second question is that our collaborations with the State Treasury Office. Our state treasurers, and thank you to Treasurer Steiner for her amazing, incredible leadership and partnerships as well. She sits in our Oregon Innovation Council. She has a seat at Oregon Innovation Council called Oregon Inc., as well as Oregon Grow Board. She show up. She's attend almost, I think that almost every meetings that I attend. She doesn't really miss those meetings. And we work, I mean, those are the two boards that particularly we work directly with her. I don't think that we have any specific kind of direct engagement around the investment opportunity or looking at data. There is no formal, and Jeff, and maybe I invite, our teams, Melissa, Trugi, to chime in as well if I miss any of that. But we've been working very closely together to make sure that we have those, we can talk to each other about that. For example, recently, like last year, we had an issue around addressing the tariffs. How is that impacting our businesses and how is in Oregon? The treasurer's office come to the table, and the state investment officer came to the table, helped to advise and being part of the conversation, being part of the study, being part of the survey, and also looking at what could we do more and respond within as a state to those to the businesses.
Yeah, thank you for coming for your report and for coming to present to us today. Will you come back and report? Will they come back and report in terms of the qualitative feedback that you're receiving from the Prosperity Council? You mentioned you're collecting some qualitative feedback.
Commissioner Kress, thank you for that question. So there are two sets of feedback. So one is us as a state agency, we also receive the feedback to our framework that folks and also businesses are already submitted online through us. We do have a summary, which is we're happy to share that. So we'll follow up with the team to make sure that we share that summaries with you. The Prosperity Council, which is they, as I mentioned, they work independently outside from the state government because they wanted to make sure that they continue to engage with the businesses and open the space and do those listening questions. They actually, the governor's office posts those feedback online. So those feedback, I believe that last week is already posted. We will make sure that to send that along with our statewide strategy feedback as well. There were over 1,000 feedback that they received. We received several hundred. So it's a really good Excel spreadsheet.
Okay, well,
We'll make sure we send those over, Commissioner. Yes.
A summary would be appreciated.
Yes.
And then in terms of quantitative feedback, do you guys have lead and lag measures that and can you share those? And a histogram would be amazing to have. For instance, a lag measure might be, jobs and average wage. Lead measure might be regional productivity and firm profitability. If firms are doing well, other firms will come to the region.
Some of that data, Commissioner, will be from the employment department from the state as well, but we can definitely get you those data points in terms of the projects that we've worked on as well, where we can glean some of those impact pieces from the specific projects too.
And do you measure your success based on those metrics? I mean, is that how I presume you do?
Yeah, on our level, we're tracking obviously like quality jobs that are created, the wages from those jobs, and then some of the indirect impacts, the overall size of the investment, things like that. Okay. And we can gross that up across the region and work with our partners across the state to look at activity within different industries.
Thank you.
We can work with Andrew, Commissioner, to, I think our economists can work together to provide you something.
Thank you.
Thanks. How about online? Commissioner Stoudemire Wesley, Commissioner Alvarez, do you have any comments?
No, I just want to say thank you, Support and team, for coming out and presenting to us. I thought it was a great presentation. Thanks. And sorry I couldn't be there.
I do have a question. First off, Director Zhang, thank you for presenting today. Really appreciate the insights into what the agency is working on. Also want to acknowledge that as a small business in Oregon, we've benefited from the export promotion program in the past and would highly recommend that to others that are looking to consider exportation of products elsewhere. As a startup, obviously, I've been tracking House or the Senate Bill 1507, which, as you know, disconnected the QSBS exemption for small businesses. And Governor Kotek signed it into law and acknowledged that that exemption was something that she was willing to revisit in the 2027 legislative session. I guess the question that I would have for you and for the agency is, how is it that Business Oregon gets involved in bills such as this to understand, the economic impact of them, not just from a pure tax revenue perspective, but from an economic modeling of the impact on some of the traded sectors that we're looking at, and for the startup and business community. Specifically, a program like that obviously has, a pretty detrimental impact on the viability of startups and the venture capital community in order to fund them in the state. So just generally curious if how you work with the governor's office on bills like this. And then moving forward, as we look at 2027, how can we ensure that there are robust models that provide a clear and accurate picture for what those impacts might be, just given some of the focus that you all have on innovation, entrepreneurship, and the statewide economic activity attributed to startups that would benefit from this program.
Thank you, Commissioner, for the questions, and I appreciate that. I know that the Senate Bill 1507 has been in a lot of conversations. I want to acknowledge that, and our governor also recognized that as well. And you highlight that as the governor signed the bill, she also attached the signing letter that addressing what she has seen as a concern, and we have heard from more businesses. Us as a state economic development agency, and thanks to not just our regional development officers, but all of our board members and staff and the partners like Prosper Portland, we continue to listen and bringing back the feedback that we have heard, address that not just to the governor's office, bring it and uplift that to the governor's office and also legislators as well. Of course, the Senate Bill 1507 is not the governor's bill, and typically our agency, as a state agency, we do not, we don't get to work or advocate or doing anything outside of the governor's bill during the session. And we, for example, with the governor's bill, House Bill 4084, we did work very closely with the governor's office to analyze the data, to provide the feedback, to calculate what's important and the impacts as well. There's a few things that highlight in the House Bill 4084 around enterprise zone. We did talk to not just Prosper Portland, but also other partners across the state. So to your question around the Senate Bill 1507, as we're looking into the next years, yes, the answer will, we'll work with the governor's office to provide not just the analysis, but then also discussion and advice, what we have heard from businesses. We do have the economists in-house as well at Business Oregon. So in terms of calculating some of the figures and the data, we can provide that. So we're looking forward to continue that conversation with the governor's office and figure out too, like what is that model will look like to continue to support businesses in Oregon in 2027, as the governor mentioned that in the bill. You did mention about the support for entrepreneurships and also the access to and innovation support. It is really highlight part of our economic development strategy. So we're looking to develop not just the strategic goals, but then also the measurable outcomes and the strategic like details of tactics that how can we better support, and also what type of investments that we continue to support our businesses. And I know you didn't ask this question, but as you mentioned that the export promotion program, we have benefit over the last 13 years for the funding from the federal funding. In addition to the small funding from the state, we're looking at now that potentially cut from the federal government. So that's something that our agency looking for what could we do that leveraging the dollar amount from the state to continue to support that this export promotion programs. for our businesses who need to expand their businesses or introduce the goods and services beyond Oregon, particularly to the international markets.
I want to say I
Thank you for the
appreciate
answer.
Commissioner Alvarez for bringing that up because also affects housing production in Oregon.
I'm sorry.
Bill 1507 also has an impact on housing production in Oregon.
Yeah, and as you are aware, that housing is still continue to be one of the top priorities for the governor, and we still remain to be one of the top priorities for the governors out of the governor's priorities around housing, particularly housing production as well. So thank you for highlighting that, Commissioner.
Okay, any other comments? All right, well, thank you very much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And we hope that we can continue to work collaboratively. And if there's anything that our commission can do to promote that in any way, I hope you'll reach out to us. So thank you.
Likewise. Thank you, Chair Cruz, Commissioners, and Director Wesley, and Prosper Portland teams as well. Really appreciate the collaboration and partnership. And thank you for having us for this afternoon part of the agenda. Looking forward to continue the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item is item 9. This is an action item, adopting budget amendment number 2 for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2025 and ending June 30, 2026, and making appropriations. And Tony Barnes and Courtney Cohn will present. So welcome, Tony and Courtney.
Good afternoon, Chair Cruz, Commissioners, Executive Director Wesley, Tony Barnes, CFO with Prosper Portland. I'm joined today by Courtney Cohn, Principal Budget Analyst, and today we'll be presenting Resolution 7643, which is the second budget revision for the current fiscal year. And this will be a number of items that true up our budget for the tail end of this fiscal year. I'll kick off the presentation and then hand it over to Courtney. As a recap, budget revisions are required through RS 294 to increase expenditure appropriations by fund from the adopted budget. Those increases must be approved by the governing body, the board, via resolution. Prosper Portland's appropriation categories across all of our funds, as established in Exhibit A, and the detail in Exhibit A are administration, economic development, infrastructure, housing, property redevelopment, which includes multiple categories of projects and programs. Our practice, however, is to include all revenue and all expenditure changes into our regular budget revisions to be comprehensive about what the changes are as we forecast year-end revenues and expenditures as we move towards fiscal year-end, and including any changes that are revisions downward, making sure those are included so that we represent an accurate amount in next fiscal year's budget for balances that are moving forward. The key themes in this requested revision are to adjust expenditure and revenue estimates according to fiscal year estimates. It's really to align with next year's proposed budget. We'll be presenting next year's proposed budget, the 26-27 budget, to City Council next Tuesday, April 21st. And in order to align the current fiscal year budget appropriations with next year's budget appropriations, many of the adjustments presented today are showing as decreases to represent capital budgets that will be rolled into next fiscal year's budget. So that includes carryover of contract revenues, state grants, property income, as well as TIF district budgets, project and program year-end estimates, and but also revenue changes that we're anticipating through fiscal year-end, such as interest estimates based on carrying higher cash balances than anticipated through this current fiscal year. This revision does include some specific changes to fund transfers, which we'll address in more detail at the end of the presentation. That includes an increase in transfers from the Business Management Fund to the Grants Offset and West Side funds to manage cash balances, and also a decrease in what was established as a planned transfer to the Strategic Investment Fund from some sunsetting TIF districts related to Central City and East Portland program income reserves. Yeah, I'm going to hand over the next slide to Courtney here.
Thanks. Hi, good afternoon. Courtney Cohn, Principal Budget Analyst. So this slide shows the high-level schedule of the budget monitoring process for the current fiscal year, in addition to the budget development process for next year. So the budget was adopted in June. In November, we received updated TIF projections from the county, and we continue to coordinate with the county and on any updates they get. In December, our first budget revision was approved. Throughout the third quarter, January through March, we worked on developing next year's budget and held community budget discussions for the TIF districts. Here we are in April with our second budget revision. And as Tony said, next week, the city and Prosper Portland will release our proposed 26-27 budgets. In May, the 26-27 budget will be approved by council. In June, we will hold a hearing with the Tax Supervision and Conservation Commission and adopt the 26-27 budget. We will also continue to monitor the current year budget for year-end adjustments. And July 1st starts our new fiscal year. This slide discusses the higher level changes to our resources. The first two lines, there was a correction based on prior year ending fund balance and the fall budget amendment. Fees and charges decreased by $10 million. A large portion of this is related to the Portland Clean Energy Fund work moving to next fiscal year. PSEF provides loans and grants to Portland to support Portland businesses. State and local grant receipts decreased by $1.5 million to carry over State of Oregon infrastructure grants for OMSI and Broadway Corridor. Interest is increasing by about $4 million based on cash balances at year end. TIF debt proceeds increased by $1.5 million for Coley and Gateway based on estimated draws. Property income decreased by about $6 million related to moving the sale of Block 25 and 4th and Burnside to future fiscal years. Transfers in increased overall to consolidate cash balances. On this slide, we're showing the higher level changes to our appropriation categories or expenditures. Administration increased by $400,000 to adjust staffing from other appropriation categories to administration. Economic development decreased by about $800,000 to move PSEF programming and business lending to future fiscal years. Housing decreased slightly just to align with the Portland Housing Bureau's projected year-end estimates. Infrastructure decreased by about $15 million to carry over budgets for street improvements in North Macadam, Gateway, and for the OMSI and Broadway Corridor state grants. Property redevelopment decreased by about $71 million, largely to carry over budgets for TIF to forecasted years, including investments for the Old Town Action Plan, Gateway, and North Macadam. This also includes carryover for SIF and the Strategic Investment Fund and the Portland Clean Energy Fund to future fiscal years. Transfers increased by $4 million to close out the Business Management Fund and move those dollars in the general fund to the general fund to manage cash flow. This is partially offset by a decrease in transfers out of Central East Side and Lentz. So Central East Side and Lentz are retaining those dollars. Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, Courtney. To provide a few more details on a fund-by-fund basis, mainly on the capital budget changes that are moving into next fiscal year's proposed budget. Those include about $19 million in the West Side Fund for the remaining Old Town Action Plan investments, about $2.2 million related to the 910 Northeast MLK project in Lloyd Holiday, $33 million in North Macadam related to the PSU University Place Agreement, plus additional infrastructure and development projects, about $1.3 million in Central East Side related to the workshop blocks, and $16.2 million in Gateway related to 102nd Pacific project, as well as some housing set-aside dollars for PHB. In the Strategic Investment Fund, about $5.1 million as part of the SIF investment strategy moving into next fiscal year. About $1.5 million, as Courtney mentioned, related to the Business Oregon grants for Broadway Corridor and the OMSI Master Plan moving into next year. And finally, $7.3 million related to the PSEF funds that Courtney mentioned, moving into next fiscal year, part of our 5-year contract. Those represent the majority of the economic development and property development allocations. They'll be part of our beginning fund balance in our proposed budget. And finally, on interfund transfers, to provide a few more details on the major transfer changes, broken up into 2 categories here we touched upon already. One is to close out our business management fund. This fund was set up about 10 years ago or so to manage a number of different activities before we had the strategic investment fund. And since then, it's been limited to managing cash flow reserves for short-term interfund loans. By moving the bulk of those resources into our grants offset fund, which is a sub-fund within our general fund, this will alleviate the need to have as many short-term interfund loans, since most of our cash flow and working capital needs are within the general fund. The other change is moving $3 million related to a Broadway Corridor post office site environmental account from this fund into the West Side Fund to consolidate it with the other Broadway Corridor resources. This was an account that was set up as part of the original acquisition of the USPS site, and that is being established in the West Side Fund. And finally, on the Central East Side and Lentz transfers that were originally established, we're recommending taking those out of the budget, so the cash from Central East Side and Lentz remain in those sunsetting districts for the time being, to be reserved for potential programming in the Central City and East Side, if needed, as we experience continued delays on new TIF resources in the new Central City and East Side districts. This will allow options for those reprogramming, but also can be reprogrammed back into the strategic investment fund at a later date if so desired. And with that, happy to take questions on the presentation.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the commissioners?
I really appreciate the graphic that you made, Tony. It's very helpful to look at it as funds move around from fund. I have a hard time remembering the fund names.
Absolutely.
How about online? Anybody? Sotomayor Wesley or Commissioner Alvarez?
Nothing for me.
Okay, great. Well, thanks very much. Appreciate the great presentation, and for everybody watching out there in computer land, just know that we make these adjustments every year, and they help us kind of true things up before we get into the next cycle. So appreciation to both of you and your team for keeping all these things in alignment every year. So thanks very much. Okay.
I move resolution 7643. Don't we have to take action to adopt the budget amendment?
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second,
Second.
please? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Passes unanimously. Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much. No, that's okay. That's okay. Appreciate it. Okay, well, let's see. That concludes our regularly scheduled programming. So next up, we will convene our executive session. So give me 1 second. All right. So the Prosper Portland Board will now meet in executive session pursuant to Oregon Revised Statutes 192.6602E to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to negotiate real property transactions. Representatives of the news media and designated staff are allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session. The commission meeting will adjourn and will not reconvene in open session following the executive session. So let's pause for a few moments as we clear the room and the signal staff. So official.
We had some help.
What's that?
We had some help on,
Yes, 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 yes. No, it's good, it's good.